Yeah.
Kathy, can you hear me? Kathy, can you hear me?
1 second.
Oh, okay.
Jam in here. Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Kath, can you hear me? It's Anita.
Yep. Sounds great. Okay, I'm just waiting for Mary Kay, Chrissy.
Hello, can you all hear?
Yep.
Mr. Garcia, I'd like to welcome you to another Taft High School Local School Council meeting.
Thank you, Carmen.
All right.
It's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening.
I'll ask you after the meeting.
It's not my first rodeo.
I think it was.
Hey, Goran, can you talk a little bit? Because my volume sounds weird.
Yeah, I could talk all day if you want. All right. I got a big mouth and I'm sorry. You know, I'd like to apologize in advance to all my colleagues on the council.
Gotcha. Thank you. I guess I should ask somebody else to give me an update.
Would work.
Kath, can you talk? Because Goran sounds like he's underwater.
I do?
Hey
you
there.
sound good, Anita.
He sounds fine. You sound fine, Anita. But you just
Okay,
muted
great.
yourself. Okay.
It's Goran, which, doesn't surprise me.
Can you hear us? Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it just sounds a little, underwater-ish, but that's
It
okay.
might just be you because everybody sounds fine.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just on a different laptop, so thank you.
Oh, there's Chrissy. Monica. Okay. See either. I hope they get on soon. Chris, okay. Okay, she's in. How's she in? Oh.
Somebody talk to me one more second again, sorry.
Hi, Anita. How are you? I'm fine.
Better, thank
Okay.
you.
All right, where the heck is Chris? There's Mary Kay. Okay. I need Monica and Chris, and then I can let everyone else in. Orange explosion. Okay. Try. And then we need Monica. Okay, good.
Excuse me.
All right. It's 6:24. We got a couple more minutes. Did the LSC, everybody see the email that I just sent? If you can take a minute to look that over while we're waiting and respond either via email or text. All right, one more LSC member.
Question.
Yes?
If anybody calls in, that takes up a spot, right? It's a slot.
Yep.
It is, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
And they can participate in the chat and everything. It's just a little harder. There's some codes that they have to use to indicate they want to chat.
Got it.
Okay, do we have, I don't see Mary Kay Cobb, but I've let her in.
She's here, Kath.
Yeah, she's there.
There she is, okay.
She's talking, but she's on mute.
Okay, good. All right, we just need Monica. All right, she's gonna miss her spot.
Can you see how many people are in the queue, Madam Chair?
55,
Wow.
plus the 17 that are already in.
Got it.
I don't see Monica yet. She said she was trying to get in. I'm just waiting for her before I let everyone else in. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to start without her because I don't know where she is. All right. I apologize. I'm still trying to get Monica in.
¿Quiero que llevar algo? Nada más. Chance para esto.
Se los papás.
Acá.
¿Son los papás?
Sorry, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Almost there. I'm not going to be able to let her in. I'm going to unmute the LSC. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kat, I'm also going to unmute you in case anybody asks you a question. I don't have all the LSC though. What am I missing? All right.
Kathy, Anita's not unmuted.
Oh, there she goes. Okay, Amina. Unmute. Okay. All right. Got Anita. I got Chrissy. I got Chris. I don't see Chad.
He's there. I saw him.
Unmute. Yeah, I just, it's easier to find him in the chat than that. Okay. Chad. Mary Ann. Laura, got Mark, got me, and I got Mary Kay Cobb somewhere. All right, we're almost there.
Kathy, Hector commented that he can't hear us. You can see us, but he can't hear us.
Hector, nobody was talking. Are you, let's see. Hector, can you hear me? Yeah, no, I can't hear him either. Okay. Okay, you guys, we don't have Monica. I don't know, she can't seem to get in, so we're gonna have to continue without her. I can't wait any longer.
Kathy, can somebody call her on the phone?
She was trying to get in, but now so many people are waiting to get in. I can't push her ahead of the line because I can't see her. And I don't know which one she is, so.
Can she call in by phone?
Yeah, but I would have to let her in, and I've already got a much more than 5 people trying to get in, and so she's at the back of the line, and I can't reach her to let her in ahead of everyone, so.
You know, but I would still like her voice heard, so how do we have her?
I don't know.
Call someone and someone can tell us what she's saying or what her comments are?
I assume she can text if she wants to make a comment. Kathy, you want to receive her text?
Yeah, I don't know how else to get her in.
I mean, I don't feel comfortable moving ahead without our whole.
I know, but I don't know what else to do besides if I tell people they can't get in, then they can't get in at all ever. If it's not full, they're banned from this meeting.
Madam Chair.
Good. Can I put you on speaker? That's the only way we're going to be able. Okay, hold on. Kath, I have her. I'll put her on speaker.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Monica, can you hear Kathy?
Hello, Monica.
Hello, I'm sorry. I'm having technical difficulty. I was trying to use my sister's iPad.
We're okay. Monica, you're fine, honey. We can hear you. You're good.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you just double check, is that fine with Miss Moore of what we're doing right now with her? Is she fine with that?
Monica, are you okay that you're on speaker?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your patience while we figured that out.
Real quick question. When I get home, if I can get back on, then I'll text, so that I can switch over to the meeting.
It's very unlikely. Yeah.
There's a wait list to get in, so you're not going to be able to get in. So just stay on the cell phone, okay? Okay. And literally, there's 100 people on the phone, so that's
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for waiting. Appreciate your patience. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:43. We are at full capacity. Miss Keeling, will you do a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Anita Bernacki.
Here.
Mary Kay Cobb.
Here.
Goran Davidovac.
Here.
Chrissy Estrada.
Here.
Kathy Fern.
Here.
Monica Moore.
Here.
Chad Nishibayashi.
Here.
Marianne Villasenor.
Here.
Chris Raguso.
Here.
Laura Keeling, and I'm here. Maria McDormand.
Here.
And Mark Grishaber.
Here.
Excellent.
Madam Chairperson, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Okay, you all have the agenda in front of you. May I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Who is that?
Chris.
Okay, great. And a second?
Question, discussion, please.
Yes, sir?
Yes.
So it's been brought up to our attention. I know we had a community forum to allow the community to give their input in. I would just ask for some reconsideration to maybe open it up for a short period to anybody that potentially hasn't given their opinion. So would the council be in favor of such a move to move public participation prior to our discussion, limit it, and allow people one last opportunity to say something. Sorry.
Can you do that if it's not on the agenda?
All we're doing,
Can you rearrange the agenda?
amend the agenda.
I would like to respectfully decline that suggestion. We had 2 hours of a meeting last week. We've received probably 200 emails, at least that I have, to the LSC that have all been shared with the LSC. I don't believe that we haven't heard every single side of the story that we've heard. I just think that it's time to move on and let the LSC get down to the discussion part, because that's going to take long enough. And people can still comment at the end of the meeting if they like to.
So if this motion to approve the agenda doesn't move forward based on votes, then we would need to amend. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Are you asking if the agenda is not approved, then what happens next?
That's correct. That means we would then put another proposal in for an amended agenda. Is that correct? I'm just looking for clarification.
We'd have to discuss it and decide as a group what we want to do next.
Great. Thank you.
Does anyone else on the LSC like to weigh in on this idea that's on the table?
I don't have a problem with it, but I think it's perhaps if there are voices who didn't speak last Tuesday or who haven't emailed us, because I know myself personally, they've been reading and reading and reading all the emails that came in, and I greatly appreciate absolutely everyone's input.
So the question is, if there's not a motion yet, I'd like to make an motion.
Anyone else?
Would anyone else like to weigh in on this?
I think we should just continue as planned.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
I make a second to the motion that was presented to approve the agenda as is.
Okay. We do have to take a roll call for votes on anything online. So I'll ask Anita Bernacki, yay or nay?
Anita Bernacki.
Clarify just to approve the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anita Bernacki,
Anita Bernacki, community member.
are you approving the agenda as written?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mary Kay Cobb,
Yes.
Goran Davidovic,
No.
Chrissy Estrada,
Yes.
Kathy Fern, yes. Mr. Grishaber,
Yes.
Laura Keeling,
Yes.
Maria McDormand,
Yes.
Monica Moore,
Yes.
Chad Nishbiyashi,
Yes.
Chris Raguso,
Yes.
Marianne Villasenor.
Yes.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Thank you. Chrissy, you seconded, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll get started on the discussion. Thank you everyone for your intense interest in removing or retaining the school resource officers, SROs, or assigned police officers from the Taft freshman and varsity campuses. You may or may not know that the Taft LSC held a 2-hour virtual open forum last Tuesday that was posted via all outlets more than 48 hours in advance, and we were at full capacity for the duration of the meeting. We had 19 attendees who requested and were given the opportunity to speak. That meeting and today's meeting are limited to 100-person capacity due to Zoom account restrictions. We have confirmed that we are following the requirements of the Open Meetings Act with CPS. It is also a requirement that we record the meeting and post it online sometime after the meeting. If you sent an email to the Taft LSC, it was shared with the entire LSC, along with any documents, articles, or safety reports that were gathered. I would also like to comment that if you are participating in any discussion on this topic via social media, note that we saw many incorrect facts being thrown around, and I would be sure to take the time to know if what you are commenting on is true. Tonight's meeting is to allow an open forum for the LSC council members to have an open discussion on this issue before we take a vote. Note that all LSC member meetings are required to be open to the public except when we are completing the principal evaluation. I am very proud of every member on this council and the staff and administration of Taft who have taken the time to digest this immense amount of information and be willing to engage with open minds and putting any biases aside to make the best possible decision to support our students of Taft High School. We will be modeling to our students the behavior required to have a civil and effective discourse on a controversial topic. I will remind everyone that we are making this decision for Taft High School only based on the information we have provided and discovered on our own. Remember that all LSC members are volunteering their time to be on the council. The amount of pressure that has come our way on this issue is truly crushing from all sides. While many of the council members agree with me, it is my personal opinion that the LSC really should not be the group responsible for deciding this issue. The job description for an LSC is to make budgetary decisions and choose and evaluate the principal, period. We are also expressly forbidden to be involved in any personnel discussions or decisions. This matter is more of a staffing issue than a budgetary issue, since we have no say in what the saved funds will be used for. Also, I do not think this is a yes or a no issue, but we don't have the authority to do anything but say yes or no. As parents, teachers, and staff members, the safety of our kids is paramount. Tonight's vote is not the end of the discussion. This is just the beginning, and we hope the discussion continues and the students feel empowered to continue the dialogue with Taft and CPS. We will be opening the public participation portion of the meeting at the end, after the vote has been taken. Note that this is where we have always had our public participation portion in our LSC meetings. As already mentioned, we received much public comment via last week's open forum and the follow-up emails. I reserve the right to remove from the meeting anyone who is uncooperative or disruptive. I also reserve the right to call for a motion to adjourn if the meeting goes on too long, but we will do our best to allow everyone to be heard. Repeating some comments I made from last week, to put this in perspective, last year's vote on the SROs was not a fully informed vote. We were given no context as to why we were voting on this issue. Also, I would like to point out that the LSC does not have as much power as some of you think we do. Again, our main tasks are to approve budgetary items and choose and evaluate the principal. For example, if we really had power, we would have been able to vote out Aramark from their citywide contract years ago. We have tons of experience with that issue, and we heard about their deficiencies weekly. This is a vote on whether Taft should keep the currently assigned Taft police officers. If you feel extremely passionate about this issue, please be sure to follow up with CPS. Take note that CPS will be holding their own citywide vote on their contract with CPD later in August, and that decision can change whatever we decide. For example, if we decide to keep the SROs and CPS ends their contract, we will no longer have SROs. Also note that if we vote one way today and decide in a few months that we'd like to revisit the topic and vote again, we can also do that. And if the Taft LSC votes to remove the SROs, it does not mean we dislike the police. If we vote to keep the SROs, it does not mean we believe that police officers in schools can't have a negative effect on students. This is a very complicated issue with many factors to consider, and we are all doing our best. I'd also like to point out that any money that is saved by removing the SROs from the schools is not guaranteed to go toward hiring more counselors, nurses, librarians, all things that I think we can all agree are desperately needed. If you'd like to speak during the public participation portion of the meeting, please put your name and representation, for example, teacher, parent, or community member, in the chat section, and we will call on you in the order it is logged. If you would like to just have your comment recorded, please put that in the chat, including your name and representation. All public comments will be limited to 2 minutes with a 10-second bell warning. All chat comments will be saved. We will now open the discussion to the council members. Please wait to be called on to speak and physically raise your hand in the camera view so I can see that you'd like to speak or ask a question. I will moderate the discussion, allowing everyone ample time to make any statements and have their questions answered. If you have points of information that have influenced how you are inclined to vote, it would be good to share those when you speak. I will start. I have personally spoken with both the security supervisors at each campus, and they had nothing but positive things to say about the SROs. Both indicated that their SROs are highly engaged in a positive way with both the security team duties and with the students. I did invite both supervisors to attend tonight. I know Hector is here. I don't know if John Hidalgo is here. Okay, 1 second. Okay. There are 9 full-time and 1 part-time security officers at the varsity campus and 5 full-time security officers at the freshman academy. They not only patrol the school on foot, but also patrol the perimeter of the school in their car and even check the neighboring parks and will mostly refer issues to the security officers. There are 140 SRO officers citywide. I've also spoken with the 16th District Chicago police officer who is responsible for assigning the police officers to the schools. He said that the police officers who are eligible to become SROs have completed 140 hours of SRO training. They're also trained in dealing with bullying, cyber crimes, juvenile mental illness, students with IEPs, handicapped students, school safety, and emergency first aid. He said that we've had some of the same SROs for several years and that they engage with some students on a personal level when the student does not feel comfortable going to anyone else for help. The SROs are looked at as a position of support, not of law enforcement. While off-duty or retired Chicago police officers are allowed to legally carry a gun when not working, guns are not allowed in CPS schools, so any off-duty or retired officers that were hired as security officers would not be allowed to carry guns in the school. There is no guarantee that removing SROs and shorting both campus security teams by 2 bodies will result in additional funding from CPS to replace those positions with security officers. And as a point of reference, both security supervisors at each campus are people of color. That's what I have. Who would like to go next? Or are there any follow-up questions with that from the LSC? And I will answer some chat questions once we get this conversation going. LSC?
Anita Bernanke.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, Anita, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to state my position, and I have a lot of reasons why I have this position. I'll just start with a couple and then see how things go. I'm going to vote to retain the SROs. There's a lot of reasons, and the first one, a big part of it is this survey that was sent out. And 129 students, I think everybody's seen the percentage of how many have voted to keep or remove. So the students, 129 students, 65% to keep. Parents, 239, 91% to keep. The teachers and staff, which is huge, the 179 teachers and staff voted, 69% to keep. So that's an overwhelming amount to me. And we're here as the voice for the students and the parents, the staff and community. That's our job. And I just feel that with what's happening right now, to remove these police officers at this time, especially what's going on in our city and the unrest and it's just crazy times. I think it would be irresponsible and dangerous to remove the SROs at this time. Again, there's a lot of other things that I have to say, but I want to let other people have a chance, and I'm more than happy to keep going if I have to. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Laura Keeling.
Hi, Laura. Go
Hi,
ahead.
guys. Thank you, Anita. I appreciate it. My decision, I've gone from one side to the other side and back again, and gone through the process of being very angry that CPS thrust this on the LSC. But when it comes down to it, I feel like today's decision is only one piece of a puzzle. And I almost feel like CPS is throwing the cart in front of the horse, because this is a much larger issue than yes or no. this is the way all of the statistics and everything that is happening with systemic racism and the way people are treated in schools. Perhaps it doesn't happen on our campus, but it's happening elsewhere. And I do realize and acknowledge that it is a larger decision, even though we can only vote for Taft and what happens under our roof. So I really wish that CPS would say, you know, perhaps this is the beginning of the discussion today and their vote at the end of August. I really would love to see CPS say, fine, Taft, if you vote no, then here's the funding you'll get for more counselors, for more security officers, perhaps retired CPD to get a little bit more of that underlying knowledge in there. I would love to see, and I'm very excited about the emails I've read about a coalition, you know, our wonderful minds at Taft, these global citizens. An LSC is a wonderful thing, but we are not the administration. We are not the staff. We are not the teachers. We are not the students' voices. And I think there needs to be a group. This needs to be more than just a decision of 12 people on an LSC. I think it's a good starting off point. No matter what we decide today, no matter what we vote, I truly would say, LSC, that we need to resurvey when school starts again, because even though we got the majority of teachers' responses, we didn't hear from the majority of students and we didn't hear from the majority of parents, even though we have gotten some magnificent emails and wonderful communications. I like, Kathy, that you say, even though no matter what we decide today, we can re-vote again and we can go back to that. This has been a very nerve-wracking week, to say the least. So I don't know if I'm making sense. I feel like I'm going in
Absolutely, you
circles.
are. Yep. Okay, thank you. Who else would like to speak? Goran?
Goran, but he's muted.
Okay. Okay, Goran?
Yes? Can you all hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
First and foremost, I think that all of us have really done our homework when it came to looking at those emails. I'm under that impression by the fact that from commentary and people pointing out things in certain emails, right? Which is part of the discussion. But I do have to say that I'm all about community input, right? And though we know what the small sample of parents that were surveyed feel, I would say that either way, if it went one way or the other, that sampling is not just, for me personally, it's not strong enough. Otherwise, I do have to say that over 80% of the teachers voted. And I am very surprised at the fact that they voted on the way they did, which to me just shows that there is a certain concern, to generally speaking, that safety is a concern of those teachers, and that potentially they would like an armed individual in the school. Now, some people say that we need to remove armed officers from our school, and then we should rely on the 16th District Police Department. Well, in cases that of a mass shooting, to remove officers that are armed that are in the school, where seconds and minutes matter, and to rely on the 16th District Police Department that is understaffed, and probably the most understaffed in the city. I can't go to sleep at night knowing that potentially someone's life is at risk. And I'm sure, I know the percentages are small. I've read the commentary on it, but I'm sure that those same numbers would have been proposed, or it would have been given to the Parkland community in Florida, where something like this did happen, unfortunately, when this discussion comes up. We never expect to be that school that has that situation until it happens. And with a large base of our students who are children of police officers and first responders here, I find it very difficult to have the SROs removed, personally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Remainder of the LSC, anyone else like to comment, make a statement, ask a question?
It's Laura again.
Hi, Laura.
I guess I'd like to just come back and say that no matter what this is, I want everyone to understand that one of the things that everyone has been saying over and over again is this is not yes or no, it's a roadblock at the end of the thing. At the end of the conversation, we are going to be unpopular no matter what we say, because someone will be hurt that their side wasn't chosen. But I truly believe that the greater issue here is that we're starting the discussion for the 2020-2021 school year, which, mind you, is a COVID school year, and this may be a moot point to begin with, but what a wonderful year to start everything so that the following school year, I mean, change doesn't happen overnight, and considering that this was thrust upon us mere weeks ago with information, we don't even, the LSC doesn't even have all the pertinent information that I think that we could really use to do change. But I think this is really the beginning. And I would hope that if the vote goes against how you're hoping it goes, that you will be an active participant in creating this community that can create change for the future. That's it.
Hear, hear.
I'm an optimist. I don't know.
100% agree with you.
I'd like to say something again, please.
Yep, go ahead.
So if the SROs are removed, that's 4 less adult bodies in our 2 campuses. And I do believe we need more counselors and nurses and social emotional help for a lot of students. But I don't think one thing has to do with the other thing. So we're going to have, if we remove 4 adults, security guards who happen to have guns, we're going to have to replace them, in my opinion. So that money is going to come out of our Taft budget. So that's 4 more security guards. Our school's growing like every single day during the season. It seems like we're getting more and more kids. So this is not going to go away. We're always going to need to have security. And at this time, so we have the CPFTA program in our school. So that's the Chicago Police Fire Department, and it's associated with city colleges. We have that program in our school. So we are trying, we're trying to be open to everything for all students. And so if these students are in these programs and we've removed police officers, I just don't, how do you have both? And how do those kids feel when they're walking around campus and the police officers have been moved from their campus and they're in this program? That's just one example. Mm-hmm. And last year when we voted to keep the SROs, it was a non-event. There was no issues. Right. So what's happening today, unfortunately, has created this. And we've had police officers in Taft High School for as long as I can remember, sorry. And at this point in time, I think we can build on this. I think that kids need support from all different places. And I think good police officers in the building can help kids emotionally. Maybe they don't have somebody to look up to. There's so many reasons to have adults that kids can respect and look up to in the building. Again, somebody else, please.
Thank you, Anita. I almost called you Amanda.
Sorry.
Gordon?
So in just to comment, if CPS promised us that the money that they would save, the $33 million contract with the schools, with the police department, if they would promise us that that would go to our social workers and other counselors, etc., I think it's a different conversation that we're having. Mm-hmm. And that conversation needs to happen at the Board of Education, right? It needs to happen at that level. That's who's going to make the ultimate decision of where this money is going to. If anybody truly believes that us making a decision to remove these officers is going to secure that from the board in downtown, I can tell you my faith in CPS is almost non-existent. As I've mentioned before, they have a history of mismanagement. They have a history of making the wrong calls. And we know that because if they did what they were supposed to do back then, this conversation would not be even happening today. And I'm going to repeat that 1,000 times because I truly believe that. All right. So if they promise us one thing, they're not promising us anything. And you know what they're telling us? They're telling us that no matter what you guys do, at the end of the day, we might overrule you anyway.
Yep.
So they're going to come in, want to divide this community, and potentially overrule us. Right?
Right.
Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There's an election. And an election in November is where you take your issues and you take those elected officials out. Because they should be ultimately responsible for what they're doing. And they're not held accountable. Okay? I'm sorry. I just have to put it up.
Thank you.
Kathy, Marianne, I'm raising my hand.
Okay, Marianne, I can't see you.
I know, sorry.
Go ahead.
I agree with a lot of things that are being said by the LSC members, and I like the fact that we can revisit this at a later date. I feel like we've been thrust into this position and that the opportunity to still revisit it later is, I think, one thing we need to focus on. And I am representing the teachers, and so that is how I'm going to vote based on what the way the teachers have spoken. I do want to mention to the person who wants to say that white people don't understand, you know, seeing police in school. My Brown family, my 3 Brown children who attended Taft, didn't have a problem with police officers. So just want to make that one point, that there are some minority people who are a part of this discussion and don't have a problem with SROs, haven't had a problem with SROs in the building. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Two very distinct issues that are on the table right now. And the one that we're charged with is, do we retain our safety resource officers at Taft High School? Yes or no? The other major issue that, first, I want to applaud all our kids, our students. I appreciate you for coming forward, using your voice. We have something that's called the Constitution, and we are guarded by freedom of speech. And you have exercised that right. And I commend you. And that makes me very proud to be a mother of 2 Taft students, but in the LSC position, I'm a mother to 3,600 students. It's called inclusivity, and we're one school. And the issues that we're all trying to figure out now, the social injustices that have just pelted us all, finally, my beloved city has had generational issues in marginalizing our Black, Brown, and Native American Chicagoans, and Americans for that matter, but let's stick to Chicago. So we're trying to solve this bigger problem. And again, I appreciate our students for using their voice eloquently. And I appreciate our fierce teachers for advocating for our students. My background is I've lived in this ward my entire life. It's the 41st ward. We call it the land of police and fire. My parents have lived here for 47 years. My mom, 71 years. So I'm a community member too. My daughter's a senior and my other daughter's a sophomore. And we talked about this. And I talked about it with their friends. So I've done my own little research as a native 41st warder on the subject. To me, there's an opportunity here. And we need to get to the root of the problem, is the social injustices that have been occurring. And there are deep societal systemic issues that have been allowed for generation after generation after generation. These are the conversations that we need to be having at a higher level. And I'm reading the chat, and no, I'm not saying that I'm better. I'm just giving you my background so you can understand where I'm coming from. And I wish that we would set an example for our students, that we can have and no, I'm not saying social injustice at Taft, I'm saying in our city. If you guys would just listen, you're so quick to type. If you would just listen, so maybe we can try to build and find common ground, so we can start to talk through these issues. So the people that don't hear because they're busy typing while other people are talking, it exists, and there are systemic issues, and we have to discuss that. That's not the vote we're taking today. And I just want to encourage the kids, the organizers who are speaking and creating awareness and doing a wonderful job, that you have to keep going regardless of what this vote is, because it's so much bigger than this vote.
Yep.
Principal G, you said you wanted Taft to kind of lead or take a, last Tuesday, there's an opportunity here with the police. And that is to create a greater sense of community. And safety is important. I think we've all seen mob rule at this point, and it's frightening. I know my first call is going to be to the Chicago Police Department if something's going wrong. And so I think we need to have a healthy dialogue on how, if the SROs are retained, that they have a greater presence and that there's greater communication and understanding and between those who are marginalized, so that we can start to heal and start to try to turn the tide of generations of social injustice in our system, our city. So that is where I'm coming from in my decision. I am committed to working on social impact issues. That is this bigger thing that's happening in our country, in our city right now. And oh God, the chat is just
Don't look at it. Just don't look at it.
Don't look at it. It breaks my heart. It's.
I know.
If I may.
And I'm almost done, Goran, and I'll stop, because I really,
I'm sorry.
I'm just telling my background. That's all I'm doing, and I'm trying to explain where my vote is coming from.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So, again, we all know this issue with CPS, but we were elected to do this job. So it's not easy, and we do have a responsibility here, and we have to vote. It's what we signed up to do when we came on the local school council.
Yep.
And I would ask, if the vote is to retain our officers, and if CPS does whatever they're going to do, that we create opportunities to start to have healthy dialogue between those students who feel anything other than comfortable around our police officers, around those SROs. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity. Yes, Goran, I'm done now.
I would agree with you.
I agree also.
Thank you, Ms. Marguso. In just referencing, what am I looking here at? In the chat, a fair question said, does this speaker know the officers? Has she ever spoken to them? And does she know anything about them? And you know what, Mrs. Cobb, I'd like to call on you for you to help answer that question. I think you and the two teacher representatives who are in this building all the time. It's a fair question. Mrs. Cobb, would you please, Mr. Nishibayashi, Ms. Villadesenor, sorry, I missed it. But would you be kind enough to answer that question? Because I can't. because I'm not there on a daily basis. But if somebody's asking, I think it's our job to try to answer their question.
Go ahead, Mary Kay.
Madam Chair, thank you. I do know all 4 of the SROs, not personally, but I see them in the building all the time. I will admit that some of the issues that happened years ago were very disturbing, but I have not seen any of those reactions to any of our students recently in the last 2 years. There's an example. I was walking down the hall. This is months ago now. I'm walking down the hall, and there's a group of students playing some kind of a game on the floor in the hallway near room 112, 109. Some ball involved. One of the police officers is standing behind this group of students, and the other police officer is down on his knee watching what's happening. One of the students had his arm on the shoulder of the police officer as they're playing this game. And I remember thinking, I never thought I'd see the day. But this was a great example. It was a great learning experience that those students were sharing something that's common to them, to these 2 officers, and it was wonderful. And I walked away thinking, I love it. This is great. So I know at the other building, at the TFA, situations like this happen all the time. Life it's very different there today. I feel fortunate that that's our environment at Taft. And I know that's not what it's like everywhere. I don't know, Goran, I am not sure I answered it, but we are very fortunate with the people that have been chosen to work at Taft this year.
And to be clear, people's points are very valid, right?
Very much.
What I'm trying to say, it's not about the officers. You're right. But if there's a question that somebody's asking in the chat about the officers, even though it's not about the officers, I think that question should have been answered. And that's why I asked you to chime in on that.
Sure. Thanks.
I'll also comment on that. You know, my opening remarks included the fact that I had reached out to both security officers because I had never met them. I don't know who they are. And it took a little while for me to figure that out and get their phone numbers and get them on the phone. And when I got them on the phone, they were both very willing to chat and very open. And like I said, they shared their experiences that the SROs are great. So yeah, we've had to do a little bit of our own research, unfortunately, but that's what we've been doing. So
I'm raising my hand again.
Go ahead, Marianne.
Goran, do you want me to share something, or did Mary Kay explain?
If Mrs. Bill doesn't, if you believe that she has explained it thoroughly, and that's the case, then I believe you, and you don't have.
I agree with what Mary Kay and like Kat has said too in the chat. It's not necessarily, it is and it isn't the SROs. I mean, obviously, if we had SROs that were, not doing and treating the students the way they were supposed to, then yes, it would matter about who the SROs are. But I agree with Mary Kay and her description of, I know 3 of the 4 SROs, and they are happy to have them at Taft, if that helps.
Thank you.
I'm raising my hand here.
Go ahead, Chad.
So I've been relatively quiet on the subject for most of this time being. I am an alum of the school. I did attend. I graduated in 2005. And I've been teaching for the last 10 years. I've been around the building. I've seen it. I've done it. And for that matter, I am a minority. And for that matter, I could be looked at as Hispanic, even though I'm not. And that would consider me, quote unquote, brown in this position. With that being said, I've never felt any threat by the SROs. I might have been in a much different position. But with that being said, we as Taft High School are in a position where we have police officers that wouldn't mind contacting the students on being more involved with the students, with just the few things that Mary Kay have seen and Marianne have seen in the few years that the years that they've been at Taft as well. So again, I think we are in a unique position where we can take this stressful situation that we're dealing with, where we're so anti this, and maybe flip it around so that we can make it more unified, instead of getting rid of them entirely. And again, I don't know necessarily that I agree with all the 70% of the teachers, but I do see their points, and I will argue some of their points. And with that being said, we can definitely continue to maybe bridge a gap here. I know that's something that Mr. Grishaber has always said, is build a bridge. Maybe we can build a bridge with these two communities so that there isn't any necessarily harsh feelings felt towards one another. I think I just, all the conversation and all the emails and all the things that I've seen and read and heard, it seems like we're treating police officers as if they're animals, or if they're some type of pet or something, like, yes, we want them, yes, we don't, or no, we don't want them. They're humans, they're people, you know what I mean? The emotion that we have towards them is based on the uniform that they're wearing. And I don't necessarily feel that that's fair to those people that are in that uniform either. They can also change the mindsets of, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old children that are in the building. But I think one has to reach out to the other. Granted, I do believe that having a weapon on you kind of changes the entire dynamic of the conversation. But again, I mean, me personally, I think that we can change the image of how systematic racism is if we can maybe involve our police or our SROs in the teaching of bridging that gap or providing that bridge.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've heard from a majority of the LSC. Does anybody else want to speak on the LSC? Laura?
I'm back again.
Yep.
I wanted to address something that was said earlier in the comments from some of our very recent alumni. Pointing out the fact that there is no student representative on the LSC right now, so there is no student voice in the vote. And sadly, our LSC representative graduated, and CPS gave us a very small window and a last minute timing to vote on this subject, thus not involving the students of the LSC, because the students don't vote until when? The students vote for the LSC, and so in November there will be a new person, which is why I think that this is only the beginning of a conversation, which I think is actually very sad that we don't have a student voting right now. And another reason that I'm very, very bitter at CPS for the timing of this and not allowing every voice to be heard. Going back to what Chad was saying though, and this is a moot point, I realize that, but being an alumni myself, I remember Taft when there weren't SROs. It was not pretty. I remember it when we were bottoming out. And I know that that has nothing to do with it, but you can't throw away the baby with the bathwater. You can't throw away the past for the present. And I love where change is going and change is happening. And hopefully one day we won't need them. I don't know if today is the day, but I like that this is the beginning of something positive, because I know where we were and I see what has happened since Principal Grishaber came in and Kat Hindman and all of the staff working for restorative justice. And it is a night and day place, because the Taft that I graduated from probably would not be the Taft where I sent my daughters to go to school currently. And I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but just a little history.
I would agree with you. I had the opportunity to go to Taft and my parents did not send me there. We're about the same school year, so.
I just want to make a comment. When Mr. G was approved to be our principal, he brought in Kat, and at the time there was a lot of teachers that were not, to say the least, happy about trying restorative justice. We've had a lot of conversations about it. There was a lot of back and forth. And that was, what, 6 years ago now? So this just shows how things can move forward and things can be fluid and people can work together to better situations. So again, 6 years ago, restorative justice was not something that everybody was embracing. Let me just put it that way. So things has really changed over the last 5 to 6 years. And I think that if we retain the SROs at this point in time and working together with all the stakeholders and trying to help any student that may feel marginalized or nervous or however they may be feeling, I think it is a great opportunity for us to grow together and not divide anymore. It's just, there's no reason for it.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to assume that the rest of the LSC members do not have anything to comment on, unless you want to say something now. Maria?
Yeah, I know I've been kind of quiet back here, new to the LSC, not on very long, and what a year it's been. I totally agree. I don't think this should have been thrown in our lap because, like you said, we couldn't even vote for Aramark. We know we have our certain rules that we have to follow. Being said that, I just wish we would stop exactly with all this anti. When are we going to grow? We need to grow as a community. We need to work together. There's nothing wrong with having safety in the school. When are we going to, we have to start getting back to, yes, we have bad in every career, every, job out there, but when are we going to start showing the kids, showing the students that we can work together and can work alongside. And I don't know the SROs either. I've heard nothing but great things. I mean, I had a daughter that graduated also in 2011. I have a daughter that's going to be a junior now. And, I spoke with my alumni daughter today, and she said, she doesn't remember anything negative. She was at the tail end when she started of the not so great Taft. I sent her there because I knew there was a new principal starting to improve, and just the change I've seen from her to now with Mr. G is amazing. So I guess I'm probably rambling and not saying anything different. It's just that I think we need to move forward. We need to work together and get the students and figure out the ones that are uncomfortable, like you said, Anita. Let's get them. This is I'm all for social workers, totally. That's a different whole ball of wax, I think, that we have to deal with, and that's not going to come out of this budget by taking the SROs out. But like you say, what's wrong? What I get, people are saying, why is there a gun on campus? They're policemen. It's not like some random person coming on with a gun, and we know what they have. So I don't see the bad thing about it as having the extra. Why should all this be put on the teachers too? The teacher's job is to educate, okay? And I know it happens. Fights happen. Every school has fights. I think Taft is a wonderfully safe school. I've seen comments here and there about it's not safe or I'm not going to feel safe. No, I totally feel safe with my daughter. It feels even better to have the SROs, but why do we have to put that all on the teachers or whatever to, be the one breaking up the fights or handling all that? Let them educate. They do enough babysitting, and I think this is a different way we have to deal with, children, students of color, whatever. I just think let's stop being so anti. Let's try to come together. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Maria. I'll just piggyback on that everybody here, we're all learning, growing. That's what it is to be an adult, right? Have an open mind, and when you know better, you do better. So if there's things that we can change and work together and educate ourselves on what other people's experiences are, that's fantastic. That's I think that goes right along with the IB curriculum. That's what we should be doing anyway. I think Chrissy wanted to speak.
Yes, sure. I strongly agree to retain the officers in the school. I am a parent of going on a Taft senior. I've been on an LSC for 11 years, going on 12 years now. I went to Taft when it was not the so great school. And I would like to be part of a bigger project or bigger thing to foster that relationship where we're not in a community where we see officers as something bad. And I feel that from the evidence I've heard, from every email that I took the time to read through and probably responded to most of you, I feel that I am representing the overall parents and community in making this decision.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Just, Kath,
Yes, Maria.
just one quick last thing too, and it would be nice moving forward if we could all just be nice. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen out there is just brutal, or just the comments. We're all adults, you know. If we don't show that we can have conversations without being, you know, name calling or throwing negativity out there, how are the kids going to see this? How are the students going to see it? So it's all I ask moving forward. Let's just be nice, because this is an easy position, and I don't want to see everybody be divided. Like I said, it's not gonna. Someone's going to be not happy on both ends. But if we can just move forward, being nice about things and not critical and, you know, derogatory to everybody, that would be great too.
Okay.
Lisa, I'll speak now.
Mr. G.
Unless another LSC member wants. Does anybody else want to speak at all?
Not right now. I don't think so. Go ahead.
Okay. I prepared a statement, and I wanted to welcome Luis Garcia. Thank you for being here, Luis. He is the LSC our representative for CPS. Thank you, Dr. Lamone. Our network chief is here. Thank you, Dr. Lamone, for being here. And just a quick shout out to Ms. Schweiger, our old LSC chairperson. So welcome back, Lisa. I'll just start by saying I make 3 decisions on my way to go get a cup of coffee from the back office. Okay, people are asking me questions. So I'm used to making decisions like that, and then I move on. This decision is hurting my brain. Okay, I've been thinking about this now for 2 weeks. I'm not used to thinking about a decision over and over and switching sides and going back and forth. I did not sleep last night, and I had very little sleep all week long thinking about this. That rarely happens, because I like to think of myself as a decisive leader that makes a point, and then we move on, and we move on to the 1,000 other things, like how we're going to start a school in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, but I just want everybody to know, I mean, there's statistics out there that I see Tree putting out there, like 1 in 4 Black students were arrested. And that was in 2015. After my first year here, if you remember, when I first started here, I talked to everybody. I talked to all the LSC members. I walked the school grounds. I talked to all the houses around here. I talked to the parents. I talked to the teachers. The number one thing that everybody told me is there's a disconnect with security here. And when I walked in the building, I knew it. And that's why I got the best of the best. I've got 50 principals that are mad at me because I got Kat here, but she was the best of the best at changing climate and culture. So I knew that. If we had this vote in 2015, I think I'm voting to remove the officers, because I would not have seen an end. We had, at that time, we probably had 80% of our security task force was Chicago police officers, all great men. They're giving their life to helping the citizens. I understand that. I grew up in this neighborhood too, 50 years in this neighborhood. I understand the neighborhood. I respect them. But I have to politely disrespect on how they understood how to secure a school. Okay? I've had closed door, loud discussions with a few of them, with some choice words going back and forth on how they thought I didn't know how to secure a school, and I was telling them they don't know how to secure a school. So back then, I may have voted to remove them, but we're a totally different school back then. Back then, we were a level 2 school. Now we're a level 1 school 5 years in a row, and a lot has changed with our security force. Okay, I just want everybody to know that. Number 2 is, if we got funding for this, I'm voting the other way too. I'm like, yes, give me the funding. And I'm going to just put it out there. We don't need funding necessarily for social workers, counselors, nurses. Give me funding for anything. Fund my athletic director, fund my programmer, fund 5 security positions, and the money I save from that, I will buy social workers. I will buy counselors, okay, because that's a priority. It doesn't necessarily mean that they give us the money for that. Give us more money, and I will rearrange the budget and play the shell game until I can get some social workers in here. So I want everybody to know, it doesn't necessarily have to be for that. Give me more money, and I will find ways to get that, okay? So it doesn't have to be those officers, or it doesn't have to be social workers, although I do believe that's the number 1 priority that we need to do, are social workers. In my experience, I've been in CPS 15 years working with budgets. I have never seen CPS take something away from a school and then the money that they saved was given back to that school. That's not in their nature to do. That's not what they do.
Yep.
And I'll give you an example.
Yep.
Freshman Connection in 2008 and 2009, it was funded by CPS. It was wonderful. Everybody thought it was wonderful, and then they took the money away from us. Now, when I was at Whitney Young, we said, you know what, it's so good, we're gonna fund it ourselves. And we funded it for like the next 6 years. When we came here, that was one of the first things on our budget. We funded Freshman Connection, even before CPS finally said, you know what, that's a good deal, let's start funding that again. But in no way in that time did they say, by the way, high schools, we gave you money for Freshman Connection. Here's the money that we saved. Here it goes back to you. Because it doesn't do that. Because there are 100 high schools. There are 500 elementary schools. So everybody else really has a voice in that pot. And I'm going to tell you right now, when there's 5 votes for elementary schools and 1 vote for a high school, it generally goes to the elementary schools. I can't argue with that. Okay? Next point. Everyone on the LSC is representing somebody. Okay? This is a tough decision we have to make. Okay? Parents, you're representing, parent reps, you're representing the parents. What did they say? Community reps, you're representing parents and students. Teachers and staff, you're representing our teachers and staff. This is not an easy decision. Don't get it on LSC. Okay, this isn't one of those decisions where like, can we fund the band to go to New Orleans to play at the Sugar Bowl? This isn't one of those things. What are we going to do with the money that we get when 2,000 people showed up for our Friday night lights? This isn't one of those decisions. This is a hard decision. The reason I say that is because I'm calling you on that, but I'm calling myself on that. Because originally I was going to abstain, but I don't think a leader abstains. I don't. I think a leader makes their point, and that's what it is. So I'm calling you to vote how you were represented, but I want you to know that I represent you, okay? You elected me, so I answer to you. I like to say that I have the teacher's voice, the parent's voice, but in reality, I do what you tell me to do, okay? So I want you to know that. So I'm gonna represent whatever you decide to do, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna tell you what my vote and my rationale is, okay? These are the for sures that I know right now, okay? For sure, I have not had one complaint on the SROs in the last year, actually 2 years, okay? And I want you to understand this because I take pride in giving the student voice to our students. If you remember, people, the first thing we did, okay, was dress code. And people keep saying, oh, Mr. G, you changed the dress code. And I go, wrong. I did not change the dress code because they wanted me to. When I met with the students, they said, Mr. G, if you're elected, we want you to change the dress code. And so I was elected and say, change the dress code. And I said, I'm not changing it. And they said, you lied to us. I said, no, you're going to change it. Because if I changed it, the lesson that was taught is that they'd always have to go to an adult for something to change. I wanted them to learn that they have to advocate for themselves, which they did. We had a forum in the LSC where tough questions were asked and they advocated for themselves, and the dress code was changed. Then the cell phone was changed. Then we let them wear hats. My students have a voice in the school. Understand this. My students feel comfortable coming to my door with any complaint. If there's a hair in a piece of pizza, I got 12 kids outside my door with magnifying glasses. Mr. G, look at this pizza. It's got a piece of hair in it. If I've got a substitute teacher that says an inappropriate comment in a class, I will have 5 kids come to me right now telling me about this inappropriate comment. Okay, now I don't always agree with them because a lot of times they may have all been on their phones, okay, and they kind of irritate. So I don't always agree. It's like, oh, poor baby, I don't do that. They're always going to get a straight answer from me. It might not be what they want, but they always know that they have a voice with me, okay? I have not had a negative comment on these 2 gentlemen, on all 4 gentlemen all year long. Let me give you 2 instances I want to tell you about, okay? Number 1, walking down the hallway, I was told of one kid that walked by the officers and made an oinking noise, like a pig. And I said, really? So I found the young man, and he admitted to it, and I said, let's go talk to the officers, okay? Because I knew what was going to happen. I could have taken him to the dean, whatever. I sat in the room and watched them do their thing. After 10 minutes, that young man had apologized. It wasn't shaming. It wasn't guilt. It was conversation. He admitted that he was fronting for his friends, that he was sorry. When they left there, they laughed. Since then, I've seen him walking by the officers. He gives the officers knuckles and back. They built a positive relationship, okay? Number two, we had a young man that was kicked out of here last year. I just had a conversation with the officers. They met that young man. He had something going on in his house. They walked in the door and they saw him, and he knew the officers, and he immediately had a smile on his face. Hi guys, how you doing? And they knew the background on that young man, okay? Of my officers here, a lot of my kids' parents probably work with the officers, okay? Understand where we're coming from here, okay? These kids, you know, so I can't speak more highly enough about this, okay? Last thing, or second to last thing, I feel rushed, okay? I don't like feeling rushed, okay? Especially when there's safety somewhere in there. Now you can argue it's not safety, it's a false sense. I don't care. It's safety is in the conversation somewhere. However you want to prioritize it, it's in there. Don't rush me on a safety decision when it comes to my kids, my staff, my school, my community. I'm feeling rushed right now, and I don't like that. Okay, so that will go into my decision later. Okay, I want you to know that. Okay, we have three choices. We can remove the officers. If we remove the officers, I'm not sure we could get them back. I haven't been told that yet. We may be able to vote them back in the future, but I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, what I do know, what was told to me, is if we retain them, we can vote them out later. I do know that. So I don't want to say something I don't know, but I do know that if we retain them, we can keep them later. So the third choice is we retain them, and like Chad says, we build a bridge. Okay, this is an opportunity right now to be the model school for all other schools on how SROs are run. I told J.D. Chow a couple of weeks ago, use my officers. Don't take them from me. Take them downtown and let them train everybody, because these guys get it. Okay, I've talked to them. I talked to J.D. I said, would it be possible for my officers to not walk around like RoboCops? Okay, because that could be daunting. It's not daunting to me. I'm used to that. A lot of people are used to that, but maybe my kids aren't. And I talked to the officers, and they said, Mark, I'd love to wear a polo shirt and a pair of khakis if we could do that. So J.D. Chow said, maybe we could pilot that at our school. Maybe that's a start. But I think right now, if we commit ourselves, because this decision is not over. We don't wipe this free and now we're going to start talking about the opening of the school. However we make this decision, if we remove our officers, I'm going to have a whole bunch of kids that are not feeling safe. I don't buy that. If we keep them, I'm going to have some kids, and like I said, I don't know those kids, but I'm going to go with the statistics and everything, that maybe they feel silenced, maybe they feel they can't say something. I'll go with that they feel not heard. Okay, so we need to build a bridge one way or the other. Okay, what I'm saying is I'm going to vote to retain them and build that bridge between them, because I think we could do that. I really do. If anybody can do that, we can do that. Finally, our CIWP, which we just voted on, okay, in the springtime, we put out a vote to everybody on the CIWP, which is the guiding force of our school. If you were going to vote on anything, you vote on that. And we had far less participation on that in the school year when everybody knew it was there. And so, but I want everybody to know that one of the priorities is student voice. I don't have a student rep on this LSC right now. I want my students to have a voice, okay? I always will argue that till the day I'm walking out the door. My students don't have a voice right now. The way we give them a voice is to retain the officers, and then when we come back to school, we can have dialogue. Everybody that's passionate about building the bridge with the marginalized students, good. Help us out. Help us build that bridge, and then we can have the student voice. Right now, I agree with my students. They didn't have voice, okay? I'm a marketer. I'm told 5% of the survey is pretty good, but here I want more, okay? So let's retain them. Let's have more dialogue in the fall to where we can talk to my students and give them a student voice. I think that's the only fair thing. So I think, lastly, I just want to say that everybody that is still passionate on this, and if we do retain the officers, please don't lose your passion, but send it downtown. Like Goran says, let them know, hey, listen, we're underfunded here. My only suggestion to you, and this is just me, do not tell people where to take their money from. Tell them we need it. Let them decide where the money comes from, because people don't like to be told where they want the money to come from. Tell them we need this. Put the statistics there, why we need this. We need social workers. We need nurses. We need counselors. We need all this stuff. Fund a programmer, an athletic director, some more security up. However we get the money in the door. I'll buy social workers with it. So keep that passion, put it towards downtown, and let's move on. Okay, that's all I got to say. But I respect your vote. I work for the LSC. However you vote, I will go with what you say. But right now, I'm voting to retain that.
Thank you, Mr. G.
Great.
So do we feel, I'm asking this question to the LSC, do we feel like we have discussed this enough that you've gotten your questions answered either previously to the meeting or in the meeting, and you are prepared to make a vote? Or somebody
Yes.
have questions that they still want to have statements they want to make?
I think I'm ready to vote, but I just want to address something that's being said in the chat right now. And yes, all sides and all voices have been heard. Just because one of us votes one way doesn't mean that we haven't listened and read. Like Mr. G said, the amount of sleep I've lost and the sweaty palms I have right now, and we have been listening to you, we have been listening to everyone. And just because a vote goes one way or the other doesn't mean we haven't listened. It's that, like Mr. G said, we are rushed, and we are rushed on the safety and security of our kids. But I truly believe in my gut that this is just a jumping off point. And I do not like not having student voices here. And I would really like a coalition of students and administration and staff to start. But I just want everyone to know that I think I speak for everyone, right, LSC? We have been reading absolutely everything that has come our way. And if you send us an email with a link, we have been clicking on it and we have been reading it. And I'm a slow processor. So then 2 days later, I go back and I click on it and I read it again. We're reading everything, I promise.
Yep. Yeah, we've done a very good job of sharing information amongst ourselves. Anything that was sent to one LSC member was shared with everybody. So I think we have
a question in the chat, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
It's has this been approved by legal?
They're asking about the survey that had already gone out.
Can we confirm that? Can we confirm that, please?
CPS doesn't need to approve the survey. I mean, you can put a survey out anytime you want to. We do it all the time. I mean, our teachers do it for each other, and you don't need to approve a survey that I know of, unless Luis knows something I don't know, or Dr. Lamone knows something I don't know. We need to get an approval of a survey.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm just asking for the chat, that's all.
Yep. Just note that the chat will be saved and we will be reading it again. And, you know, if there's any issues that come up that we need more information from, we will reach out.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There's one more question in there. I don't know if you want to. Somebody asked if you could please answer questions first about stats of arrests at Taft.
All that information was shared during the last meeting with the LSC, which we have been studying. We have
that's what I thought.
Statistics
Okay.
and charts and all kinds of things in our Google Drive. I don't have that accessible right now, but we have all been made aware of it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so do we have anyone else who'd like to say anything, or should we call a vote?
Call the vote.
Call the vote.
Okay, I hear everyone saying call a vote, so we'll call a vote. And usually we're approving a motion, so in this case, we are asking each member to vote to retain or remove the SROs from the Taft campuses. And we will do a roll call vote.
No. Lewis is shaking his hand.
As
Oh, hang on.
I think we need to make a motion.
correct, and that's what I was going with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Garcia, you're on.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, what needs to happen is that a motion needs to be made and seconded. Motions by their nature are positive. So the motion would be to retain the SRO.
Okay.
If that receives a second, then it is taken to vote, and that vote should be a roll call vote, please.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to retain the SROs at Taft High School.
I'll second the motion.
Chrissy and Anita. Okay, we're going to go down the list alphabetically. Okay. So this is a motion to retain the SROs. Anita Bernacki,
Yes.
Mary Kay Cobb,
Yes.
Goran Davidovic,
Yes.
Chrissy Estrada,
Yes.
Kathy Fern, yes. Mark Rishaper,
Yes.
Laura Keeling,
Yes.
Maria McDormand,
Yes.
Monica Moore,
Yes.
Chad Nishibayashi,
Yes.
Chris Raguso,
Yes.
Marianne Villasenor.
Yes.
Motion passes. The SROs will be retained at Taft.
Ms. Fern,
Yes.
real quick, I just would like to remind everybody that I think this should be a standing item on all safety and security agendas going forward, a review of SROs on our agendas.
I like that idea.
Okay, I do like, before we go, are you going to open it up for comments at all now?
Yes.
Before we do, I want to, because we're not going to have a meeting in August. I just want everybody to know that reviewing the fees for the upcoming year, fees, and I don't need anybody's approval, I don't need a vote, but I want to let everybody know because it's going to hit everybody before we meet again, is that our fees are normally $450 per year. This year, after speaking to my administrative staff, I think it's prudent that we're going to lower those fees to $300 for this year only. I think it's going to help people out. I think since we are going to have some component of remote learning, we will be saving some money. I do think we still need money because I think right now, with kids not being in the building or on campus, this is a golden opportunity for us to move ahead 4 or 5 years with our capital improvements. And then get it all done right away as best we can since there's no kids on campus. So I want everybody to know that I'm going to lower the fees from $450 to $300. And I know Goran loves that.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open it up to public participation. I'm going to ask everyone, since the chat is so long, I kind of lost track of who would want to speak. So I'm going to ask you to please go ahead again and enter your name in the chat that you would like to speak and your affiliation. You're a parent, a teacher, a staff member, a student, an alumni. Starting now, I'll wait and see who would like to comment. Mr. Wilson is first. Hang on, Mr. Wilson, I'll unmute you in a second. Okay. Where are you? RY, aren't you? Here you are. Okay, Mr. Wilson, you are unmuted. Remember, you
Okay,
have 2
well,
minutes.
I appreciate the discussion that everyone has had. I would still, I hope that we take this up again, and I hope that we do allow the students to be heard, and I hope we make sure that we get a larger response from the community. Frankly, it is ridiculous that we had survey results of less than 5% that were of the population were being contributed. I do appreciate that we had a 2-to-1 ratio of staff members who said they wanted to retain. I would like to have seen the vote by the staff members on the LSC reflect that 2-to-1 vote. I don't think that all staff voices were heard there. But the larger picture is that we do have a lot of work, regardless of SROs. We do have a lot of work to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our underrepresented students. And who those might be may be differently defined by different people, but ultimately we need to make sure that we have equity and inclusivity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Danielle Tobin. Danielle, are you just under Danielle, I suppose? You're the only Danielle here. Okay, we'll try that one.
Hello.
Okay, I gotcha. Go ahead.
Hi. I just want to say thanks to the LSE. I'm in an LSE too at an elementary school, and I know it's a lot of work. I don't feel my voice was heard. I don't know if the email was shared that I did send to you guys.
Yes, it was.
No, none of the LSE members that spoke about students with disabilities as part of their decision. Statistically, students with disabilities do interact with SROs, a larger percentage of what they are in the student population, and Taft has not had a great track record with even teachers understanding, how they should treat students. I've had to learn a lot being a parent. I've had to become an advocate, and I hope before you guys close this meeting, you each commit to bringing this up to a vote after the student has been elected, whether that's I think that would be after the January meeting, to put this on the agenda in the January meeting. So, we have a goalpost to work as a community together to make sure all the voices get heard, and then you guys can vote again, possibly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have Catherine Echevarria. One second, let me find her. All right, Catherine, you're not showing up. Let me see if you are who you are on here. 1 second. Dinora's
Kath, who is TMO in the chat? I'm just curious, because I think it's of all the chat that's going back and forth, I'm feeling very positive that this is the direction that I'm hoping this conversation goes in. Is TMO one of our SROs by any chance? Yes, okay. I strongly encourage everyone to read the chat. I didn't want to before, but if this is the type of conversation we can carry this into, we're headed in the right direction. It's about healing, it's about bridging, it's about finding common ground.
Thank you. All right, I found you, Catherine. 1 second, let me unmute you. All right, Catherine, you should be unmuted. Catherine? There you are. All right, I'm unmuting you, but you're not unmuting. There you go. Catherine, are you there?
Hello.
I hear you now.
Yes, I'm Catherine's Echevarria parent. So actually, I really appreciate that they keep SROs on at the school. So that's the only thing that I need to know. And for many reasons, but especially because the kids needs to be like confident, and then we as a parents who are going at work, we need to feel safe as well. So this is the only thing that we actually need to prove to the kids are gonna be okay, and then we are gonna be okay that they are gonna be safe.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Ninad. Okay, Ninad, you should be unmuted.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. First of all, I want to make sure everybody knows. You guys have said it, that it's kind of a tough thing to put on you. I want to commend all of you for taking this challenge, and commend you on your vote and your explanations. And yes, there is more conversation that has to be made. As a excuse me, retired cop of almost 30 years, I think it's important that I also support, let you guys know that I support having more nurses and social workers as well. I have 3 CPS students who are African American. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think they were in the LSC as well. They have 3 African American children, and I commend you as well on helping out. The children that we have here all have IEPs and special needs, and I think you guys do a bang up job. The teachers do at the school. I think the LSC does a good job there, and Mr. G. So I think you don't get a pat on the back on how difficult your job is. And I just think that the more, and this SRO, the supervisor, I just read that on the chat, it's excellent. And that's what I'm doing now, being a member of the board with the FOP now. I'm an elected board member. I've been meeting with ministers and other people to try to bridge gaps and try to get people together to start moving forward and forget about it. And what I tell my Black children when they go to school, don't try to be treated better or less than anybody else. Just go there, learn, treat people with respect, and you'll get that in return, no matter what nationality or race you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anyone else wanting to speak. There's the last one there. Okay. Okay, last call for anyone who would like to speak. Put your name in the chat. Okay, I don't see anyone else who would like to speak, so I'd like to thank everybody again for your and very engaging participation in our meeting today. Again, this is a conversation that needs to continue. We have, as an LSC, taken it upon ourselves to make sure that safety and security is highlighted at every LSC meeting, putting forth the effort to collect information, to meet people, to know who is who, and that information will be shared with the general meeting during the LSC. So please attend those meetings, especially if they're virtual. We've gotten great attendance at our virtual meetings, so we appreciate you guys joining us on this journey. So thank you very much. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved. Chris.
Okay, and then Chrissy said, want a second? Chrissy? Okay. CR, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we are adjourned at 8:06. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe, everyone.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks. You okay, Monica?